right, everybody. Welcome back to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast. This is episode 80, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. I'm your host, Christian Brindle. I'm joined with my co-host, as always, Glenn Shelton. We have a special guest in the building virtually. Back-to-back episodes with guests. Love to introduce Tony Canas. Tony is a lot of things. I don't even know where to get it. Tony comes from the PNC world. Tony's an insurance technology expert, overall insurance nerd, podcast host, everything else in between. So, Tony, welcome to the show this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I should say, first of all, fantastic production quality of that intro. My podcast, 600 and some episodes, we have no intro. So I have some things to learn from you guys. Also, I don't do it live. I'm petrified of the idea of doing my show live. But funnily enough, I'm okay with other people's shows live. Yes, PNC guy, 15 years in PNC. I have never sold insurance of any kind, right? So that makes me a weird guest for you guys. And when it comes to insurance tech, I do want to be careful. So I run a podcast about the insurtech world where I interview insurtech founders. So I deal with tech founders pretty much every day. Myself, very little tech background. I'm a former underwriter by trade. Middle market PNC underwriter is really
an underwriter.
Out of the 10 years that I spent in the carrier world, only 3 of those I was an underwriter, and I did enjoy it a lot. Nowadays, my day job, I'm a recruiter specializing in insurance and insurtech. But the biggest thing I have is a giant passion for insurance and what we do, and especially insurance as a career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tony, really fast. Craziest policy you had to underwrite? Any crazy underwriting stories you can share?
So I started at Farm Bureau of Iowa, and I started in the claims call center. So I go through a training in the claims call center, and basically taking the call when somebody has an accident or any sort of either home, auto, or farm loss. And most of it is auto, right? Most of it is auto claims, and the simple ones we're going to keep ourselves and work ourselves. So anyway, I finished the 2 or 3 weeks of excellent training, and they turned me on. They start me on the phones, and I'm not a farm boy, by the way. Like I have no. I was living in Iowa, but I have no background in farms. So they start me on the phones after training, and the very first call I get is basically what happened is a bull that is head for what's the word, to impregnate cows. That's his job, right? A stud. Exactly. Yeah. He's a stud bull, and basically broke through a fence. So there's some property damage on the fence. Broke into the neighbor's yard and impregnated the wrong cows. And
so to the best of us.
So there's property, there's liability, and there is also loss of income because he missed appointments for the right cows, right? So anyway,
this is amazing.
Very first claim I ever took.
The first one?
Yeah, and
first
literally, yes. And I put it in the system and sent it to the right adjuster, right? I was nowhere near the level to handle it. As an underwriter, later on at Nationwide Ag, I underwrote farms, and that was a lot of hobby farms, really. And so people try to pass off, or agents really, try to pass off any home that doesn't fit into your normal homeowners programs as a farm, because it has too much land, or they have horses or whatever. The weirdest one I saw came in as a farm, and it had a bit of a like military sounding name, like Storm Mountain or something crazy like that. So anyway, so Googled the website, and of course it's a militia training facility, not a farm at all. So definitely can't do that one. And then I was middle market underwriting at Liberty. That's my last underwriter role, and there. Interestingly, there I didn't get any crazy ones. We had some bad losses, but no, like I had the state of Mississippi, which is a small and kind of boring state when it comes to middle market business. So no crazy stories from there. Yeah.
Well, it's hard to top that first story. Most stories probably won't stand up to that first.
So
one,
this is and it's a great. I hadn't told the story in a while, but it's a great starting point to kind of who I am, where people think that insurance is boring, and the deeper you dig into it, it really isn't. Now, you guys' side of the game, and I mean the sales side, whether it's Medicare, whether it's PNC, whether it's life, you guys have a really tough job, for sure. And one of the big problems we have in attracting and retaining, and my focus really is on attracting and retaining millennials, and nowadays Gen Zers. So basically, how do we attract and retain the next generation? One of the big problems we have is the majority of them don't want to sell. And the only other thing they know about insurance is claims. Right, so I spend a lot of my time talking about, hey, there are other jobs within our industry, and especially if you fell into insurance, you got recruited into sales or claims, and it turns out it's not a good fit for you. Let's not lose you from the industry. Let's help you grow into a different part of the industry where that experience that you gain can be useful. Let's try to get you into the right seat on the bus, basically.
Yeah.
That might be an interesting topic to kind of pull apart here. Is why is the Gen Z and millennials and the newer generation, why are they less attracted to sales than other generations before?
So I will focus mostly on millennials and then a little bit of sprinkle about Gen Z. So I wrote the book on how to engage millennials in insurance. It's called Insuring Tomorrow. Came out in 2017, and that was after like 5 years of being obsessed with that topic. And I ended up writing it in 90 days. So 5 years of data collection and then 90 days of writing it, because it's me. It's my generation. I completely get us. And shortly after that book came out, I said that I would write 2 more. One about how to grow your insurance career and one about how to engage Gen Z within insurance. Neither of them have made it past the planning stage, because it turns out Gen Zers are harder to understand than I expected, because I'm not one of them. So they seem crazy to me. Okay, so when it comes to millennials, your average millennial hates making an unscheduled phone call. Let's start there. And that is a lot.
That's me at this point. And here's the fact. I wasn't always that way. I feel like I've developed into that as my life has gone on, but that is me today, 100%.
We are a generation that grew up with email and then with texting once we were hitting kind of like college age, and for an older millennial, for a younger millennial, they always had texting, and the advantage that both texting and email have is they're asynchronous communications. So basically, you have time to plan your reply. While on the phone, you have to think on your feet. And basically, because of our addiction to electronics, we are just not as comfortable with thinking on our feet compared to prior generations that grew up in an analog lifestyle. Now, having said that, the organizations who have figured out how to get millennials to successfully sell, and especially sell on the phone, are killing it. There's an Allstate agent here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I live, and the kid's like 32 years old, CEO of like the second or third largest Allstate agency in the country, and has a call center full of millennials and Gen Zers who sell very successfully, right? But it's very few that have figured out how to successfully help us get over the fear and incentivize us in the right way, gamify it in the right way, make it fun enough. The reality in sales is a lot of rejection, right? And in insurance, it's a very, very, if you're selling, I can't speak for the Medicare side, but if you're selling State Farm personal lines, you get told no 99 times that you talk to somebody. Right, I'm guessing it's very similar in you guys' world.
For sure,
absolutely.
It's hard to get over that. So I think and millennials were coddled when we were growing up, so we didn't face those issues. Now, Gen Z is interesting because Gen Z, they didn't make them. They learned from the mistakes that the millennials made. when it comes to college, right? So millennials, a larger percentage than any other generation went to college and graduated with a ton of student loans. Well, if you have a ton of student loans, when you graduate, you have a degree in business, let's say, just general business, and you've got an offer for 60 grand or 80 grand right now, and the long-term potential of that job might be 120 in the long term, or you can go into sales and the long-term potential is unlimited, but you can't pay your student loans today, right? So PNC agents are seeing a lot of that problem where in PNC the historic way that agents do it is they hire a kid right out of college, former athletes or whoever has the right personality, and kind of throw them to the wolves, and some of them survive, and basically it's a 4-year validation period. So yeah, we'll pay you a salary this year, and then it declines over the next 4. Well, that's a lot harder to do for a kid with student loans, right? So, and we have not figured out how to redesign, or the agents have not been willing to redesign the programs to do that. With Gen Z learned from their older siblings and older friends' mistakes, and many of them avoided college in order to not get student loans, and many of them are crypto bros and they're very money more. So here's a big difference. Millennials are mission driven. Millennials need to be able to pay the student loans, but they want to do something good for the world. They want to change the world, and within insurance, I make the case that every job within insurance is doing something good for the world, because ultimately what we're doing is helping somebody get back on their feet when something goes wrong, whatever line of business you work within insurance. So I can definitely sell the mission to a millennial. Gen Z is a generation that grew up in a time of so the reason millennials are like that is because they grew up in a time of abundance in the 90s and early 2000s, while Gen Z grew up in a time of chaos with the 2009 recession, COVID, etc. So basically, Gen Z is desperate for stability. They're desperate to make enough money. In fact, the research on how much is middle class generationally goes crazy, right? So like Gen Xers and millennials say like 60, 70 grand a year is perfectly middle class, and Gen Zers say something like 180, right? Like completely like way crazy numbers.
I've heard that before.
It's the combination of being desperate for financial stability, feeling that both college and the traditional corporate ladder is just no longer available in the same way, no longer viable, no longer safe, right? Yeah. And the TikTok crypto bros, bless you, piece. So many of them, especially the men, that historically would have graduated into jobs like selling insurance, where like their confidence would really help out, end up pursuing much more riskier things, but that are perceived as sexy in the current environment, right? How do we repaint? How do we remarket selling insurance of any kind as an exciting role like that?
I think that's really interesting, and I think inflation plays a role here. Christian, I'd love to hear what are your thoughts on this as far as Gen Z millennials? How do they come back in a bigger way than they are now? Because I do think from a sales perspective, I don't know if I feel like the combination of like technology and the pandemic, they're just like they're less social creatures.
Correct.
Like, if I'm being honest, I look at my son and his friends, I'm like, it's not the same. These aren't the same type of kids.
Millennials who are now, the older ones are 42, 43. And the younger ones are 30s. With millennials, with how much technology and less socialization we had, yes, we're less social. And Gen Zers, it's extreme, right? Because they grew up in a phone in their hand. My brother is currently going to college, 20 years younger than me. Okay, when I went to college, there was about one girl per guy, numbers wise. Today, it's about 1.9 girls per guy. Okay. So
we're going back to school. We're going back to school.
So my brothers go to college, right? And I'm like, like, you are so freaking lucky, right? And he's now a sophomore, and basically what he reports back is all anybody does is be on their phone, right? So it's very hard to get anybody to actually interact with you, because they're just swallowed by their phone. Like, I am deeply addicted to this thing, right? But as a generation,
we all are.
Their brain got wired as a child,
right?
Which is even worse than for us.
It's a difference, because like, you'll go out in public, right, and like, you'll look around and you'll typically see all age demographics doing a lot of this, right? But like, that age range, I feel like you see it's almost like from the moment they get to wherever they're going to the time they leave, they are just looking at their phone, like 99% of their experience there. So yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Here's my question for you on this. Like, I think I'm fascinated by this topic. Do you feel, because when Glenn asked that question, right, the first thing that came into my head is like, you know, how do you make insurance more appealing to that younger generation? I think you have to find a way to make it cool, right? Because like you mentioned, younger people wanting to get into crypto, even though statistically speaking, it's a lot more risky, right? And a lot less chance of being successful than doing a career in insurance, but you have to find a way to make it cool, right? Like, and doing podcasts like what you do, like what we're doing, like that's a way to make it cool, relatively, right? Like
on your side of the game, right? On the sales side, whether it's selling PNC, selling Medicare, selling life, selling whatever, I would, I would grab your very successful people, and I would put them on every podcast out there I can to tell their story, to tell how, it was hard, but how at 32, right? It was hard from 22 to 32, but at 32, I'm making 150 a year. I'm my own boss, right? I take whatever time off I want to. Nobody tells me, right? That's how we sell. That's how we sell the sales side, and at the same time, what we're selling is good for people, right? It's something that is necessary in our society. The carrier side, we have to sell on stability and on what we do being interesting. It's harder to sell it on unlimited money because it pays well. But it's much it's a much more stable, much safer. I think that we need to get much better. I don't think we have a problem bringing people in. I would love to see us be better at
it's a marketing problem. It's a messaging problem.
Helping
people stay, right?
Correct.
Retention.
Retention, exactly.
Sure.
And I think a big piece of a part of retention is reinventing the job, the technology, etc., as much as possible to be a good fit for the newer generations. But some of that is also help as an industry funneling people towards the jobs where they will be successful. I can't tell you how many claims adjusters I've run into who would have been great salespeople, and they started in the wrong place. And oh my God, how many salespeople I've run into who would have been great underwriters or great adjusters or great whatever, and they're in the wrong seat, and they're very, very, very likely to just leave the industry instead of getting funneled to the right place.
We've talked about this a lot in the sense of an agent being independent versus an LOA agent who works inside an agency, because a lot of times agents think they should be independent, or they want to go independent, or they see someone else who's successful as independent. So they're thinking this is the route, the direction they need to go. And if only they had gone a different route, maybe they would have hung around and maybe they would have been able to have a super successful career in insurance. The quote that I keep thinking of, it's from someone, and Christian, maybe you can remind me who actually said it. Someone in our community, but the quote is, the job, selling insurance isn't sexy, but our lifestyle sure is. That's someone in our community. I've heard it said many times.
I've heard it as well. I just can't put a finger on who said it.
It's absolutely right. And I would rephrase it a little bit, because the reputation.
You don't like sexy in there twice.
No.
It's just too.
The reputation is that this is not a sexy job, but if you're successful in it, and the deeper you dig into it, it is a sexy job, right? So we hurt ourselves by labeling it, right? Society definitely labels it that way. No question about it. And that is one thing that we when you hire somebody into the first insurance job, whether it's carrier side, whether it's sales side, one of the big things you're going to have to actively work to get over is hey, you're going to get no social credit from this, right? I have literally told people, a friend who was moving from Philadelphia to Atlanta, and he's a single 22-year-old guy, and I'm like, you're gonna love it here, but on your Tinder profile, don't say underwriter. Right? Say I work in finance, and then on the date,
I work in finance. That's my new line.
Yeah,
what do you do?
But it's true. We are a really weird part of the finance industry, right? So on the date, you can be honest about what you actually do, but if you say you work in insurance, that's going to severely damage your chances, right? So society-wise. So society-wise, yes, we right. People think of Ned, whatever his name is, from Groundhog Day. No, from Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
The annoying life sales guy.
Life insurance,
exactly. Yeah. That's who they. And in fact, anytime insurance is ever mentioned in a movie, it's a negative mention, right? The Mr. Incredible is a claims adjuster.
Yes, I see that one every week. Yes,
right.
Yes.
We have no positive representation of insurance in media, so it's up to us to create that.
I'm sad now. I'm depressed. I'm logging off. This is sad. It's super valid, Tony. Everything you're saying.
My YouTube channel, Insurance Nerds. And I'm very good at video. I'm not very good at short form video, right? Short form is anything under 10 minutes in my world. I don't even try TikTok because I just cannot do 45 seconds. Okay, but I can tell you that I get calls from at least a few people every month that grab time on chatwithtony.com. Chatwithtony.com is a free career advice service I have for insurance professionals or aspiring insurance professionals, and a few times a month, so somebody will show up and I look at their LinkedIn and they're not working in insurance, and I'm like, why are you calling me if you're not already in insurance? And they said, I found the Insurance Nurse YouTube channel and I want to work in insurance, right? So it is possible. How do we do it at scale? And I leave it to you guys to do the short form piece, because that part I'm not good at. The TikTok part.
I love it. And for the and you know, if it makes you feel any better, I've never been good at TikTok either, so I'm right there with you. Never been able to
unless he's
impersonating
Donald Trump, then he's crushing TikTok.
I'm great with that. Yeah, that one takes off a bit.
I'm a magician. The magic stuff I can do short form.
Yeah.
But talk about insurance and careers, I just get going.
Yeah. It's a tough message to squeeze into 20 to 45 seconds. You know, it's a little tricky. Before we shift to the next topic, because I have a couple things that I think might be interesting to discuss. Glenn, talk to us about this episode's sponsor before we get too deep.
Guys, today's episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by Hire Heroes. If you are looking for a virtual assistant, someone who can come in and handle low revenue, no revenue generating tasks, data entry, calendar management, managing your CRM, helping you with customer service calls, all of these things that you have to get done, but ultimately eat up your day. We all have the same 24 hours. Nobody gets more time than anyone else. Hire a vetted virtual assistant from Hire Heroes today. We can come in, place a virtual assistant in your business who can take care of these no revenue, low revenue generating tasks and ultimately get you your time back and allow you to earn more money, spend more time with your friends and family, get your life back, do whatever you want to do. That's what Hire Heroes does. So head over to hireheroes.com today, hireheroes.com, and grab your virtual assistant.
I love it. Tony, I wanted to ask some specific PNC questions, even though since you've never been an agent, but you're from that world, right?
I work with
everybody.
a ton of PNC agents. So yes, I'll give it my best.
So our perception of it, right, being in the health and life space, I wonder what is perception versus reality sometimes, right? So like my perception is, especially over the last couple of years, that it's been a little rocky for a lot of PNC agents in particular. Is that perception real at all?
Yes. So we call it the hard market, and it's become a meme, but it is definitely true. Basically, carriers have really tightened their appetite, and rates have increased. So yeah, it's much harder to sell, and it's much harder to retain your book when California and Florida are almost impossible to insure anymore, and all over the country, rates are increasing 20% compared to last year. Now, the advantage is that your customer might shop around and they likely won't find anything better. But yes, so imagine going from 80% of my book used to renew every year with very little effort to the entirety of the book when we hit renewal wants to be reshopped. And having to have the conversation with every one of them. Like imagine the amount of time it takes for my service people to have the conversation with every one of them. Yeah, your insurance increased by 15%, and that is the market right now, right?
Tony, I've always had this perception, or what I've been told, and again, my disclaimer here: I've never sold a PNC policy, so this is just more the chatter that I'm hearing from others in the industry, but I've always been told from the beginning that the downfall of PNC is a lot of these clients and prospects will potentially leave you over $1 per month. Is there any truth to that? Any validity to that?
That is interesting.
Like, Progressive will save me $2 a month. See ya, I'm out.
Okay, so we definitely have. It's a different problem. The problem is that a significant percentage of PNC agents sell on price, and they are not they're order takers that only know to sell on price, and we have done that disservice to ourselves. It's not even their fault; they just didn't get the right training, right? If you sold it on price, you will lose it on price. That's definitely true.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
The really good PNC agents don't sell on price; they sell on coverage, on having you properly protected, and on relationship, but especially on coverage, especially on making sure that you are properly protected. Those have incredibly high retention, and they won't lose business on price. In fact, what will happen with them is when a newer price-focused agency does manage to get in front of your client and offers them a better price, the client doesn't switch. They come to you and say, hey, I'm being offered this. Help me understand it, and then you get to keep them, right? Whatever you need to do to keep them, but you get to keep them. Right. So no, I don't think PNC is any more likely to lose on price than other areas of the industry. It's just we have many of us that have only been trained to sell on price.
That totally makes sense.
So outside of underwriting, Tony, like what is some other examples? Like you mentioned earlier about people that are in the industry, but maybe they're miscast. What are some other roles that people can pursue? Like, so there's salesperson, there's underwriter, but what are some other examples?
There is a video on my YouTube channel. It's very easy to find. So you go to YouTube and you search for Insurance Nerds Tier List, TIER list. And over 11 and a half minutes, I go through 42 different jobs. Wow. And that's mostly just PNC, right? Because it's the word that I know. So basically, over on the carrier side, it takes product people, it takes actuaries, it takes premium auditors. Like there's a ton of jobs that unless you live inside a PNC carrier, you just never see and have no idea. And they're wonderful jobs, some of which are very detail-oriented, some of which are all about process improvement. So the majority of them have very little to do with sales. right? It's actually getting the thing to work so that we can pay you when a claim does happen. There's a ton of variety. In fact, my theory, and I'm not the only one that has said this, like many people have said, and I agree 1,000%, that within insurance, we have good jobs for just about anybody. And I would define a little bit more. I think that in insurance, we have good jobs for just anybody who has the skills for white collar employment. Likely there's a good place for you in insurance.
I love it.
Yeah. I think that's such a unique message, right? Because like
it is
what we typically see people recommending into specifically insurance agents, but people that are struggling in some form or fashion in the industry, a lot of it is like, okay, well, you need to fix this, you need to fix that, you need to fix your script, you need to fix that, you need to fix this. But like Glenn and I have had conversations on this show before where it's like it's almost like a forbidden thing to say in a sense in some circles, but like some people probably just aren't cut out to be agents or be salespeople.
Yes.
I'm sad to hear that that's a taboo. That should not be a taboo.
It is a taboo.
Right?
It is a taboo. It's a taboo.
And I totally get it. If you own an agency.
This episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by Everything Senior Insurance. Guys, if you're looking for an FMO in 2025 to be a partner with you and really support the overall growth of your business, Everything Senior Insurance is the one-stop shop to allow you to get plugged in with great resources. Whether it's ACA contracts you're looking for, whether it's Medicare contracts you're looking for, whether it's final expense and life contracts that you're looking for, Everything Senior Insurance has got you covered. We provide a free CRM in seven-figure CRM to all of our agents that meet the proper requirements on their contracting and have enough contracts with us. We provide discounted leads with Lead Heroes, discounted virtual assistants with Hire Heroes, and we provide just year-round support to just be there and help you out in your business, as well as fantastic training. Glenn, what do people need to know about Everything Senior Insurance, the FMO?
At Everything Senior Insurance, we've really combined all of our resources to create an FMO that can be a true one-stop shop for a senior insurance agent. Most FMOs have only maybe one resource or even no resources beyond offering that contract. We want to provide value to you as an agent to help you grow your book of business. Or if you want to create an agency, we want to help you grow your agency. And there's so many resources that we have put together to really help you grow your business. So if you are looking for a true partnership, someone that will invest in your business, please reach out to Everything Senior Insurance. We would love to help you grow.
Thanks for listening to this message. And now back to the show.
You've got sales jobs and you've got service jobs, and that's about it. If it's big enough, you might have operations roles, but really it's
right.
Sales or service, right? And service is likely not a great career. And you likely have a harder time recruiting for salespeople that actually work out than service people. So yeah. I totally get it. In your agency, if somebody's not cut out for sales, they're probably not going to be a fit for you, at least not long term. The reality is the majority of people are not cut out for sales. So let's make peace with that, right? If there's one thing that drives me insane about insurance, is our bad habit, and this happens more in life than it does in PNC. Our bad habit of, if you have a pulse and can pass the licensing test, we'll
hire you.
We'll hire you, right? And then for the life side has like a 4% survival rate. Like 90% of people do not survive to their third year. That is shameful. Like that is, not only are you not helping yourself, you are hurting the entire industry, because each of those kids that you hire that don't make it will never come back to insurance, even though we could have had great jobs for them. So you're making it harder for the rest of us. And back in the 90s, you piss off one kid and he'll tell his 5 best friends. In the 2010s, 2020s, you piss off the wrong person. I'll tell my closest 20,000 followers, right? That's 20,000 people that will never work in insurance.
Absolutely.
So we need to completely reinvent how we hire the sales side. Add personality tests up front. Hire only the people that have a better than 50% chance of success, and invest in your training and mentorship, etc., so that you get that success rate better than 50-50.
Yeah.
How to actually do that?
Yeah. We see it all the time, though. There's so many agencies who just are like, hey, are you alive? Okay, check. Do you have a license? Check. Here you go. Here's your lead. Start working. And they don't care about anything else. They're just, seeing who sticks to the wall. They're throwing everyone at the wall, seeing who sticks.
Over on the PNC side, the two jobs that hire the most people entry level are claims, which is very hard, and personal lines sales at an exclusive agency. So like your State Farm is the worst on this. Your Allstate, your Farmers, they'll hire, at a large enough agency, they'll hire a bunch of kids, get them licensed, and get them leads, and the survival rate is awful.
Yep.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing, right? Because like I remember I got into it was around when Clubhouse was popping off. Clubhouses.
Clubhouse.
I couldn't even tell you who it was, but there was somebody that had a little bit of a following that kind of got into it with me on this topic in a Clubhouse meeting, and he was like, well, I would argue anyone can make it as an insurance agent because he's like, anyone. It's all about their training. It's all about this. I'm like, dude, you sound dumb right now. I'm sorry. I'm like, because I think if you've worked with any,
I have so much nostalgia for Clubhouse right now. Late at night, just hovering over my phone, listening to everyone yell at each other. Oh my god!
It was one of those, but it's one of those things where it's like, for anybody that's worked with a large number of agents, you just know, like, no matter how good your training is, no matter how good your systems are, no matter how easy you make it for them, no matter how good of a teacher you are, there's going to be those people that just don't. It doesn't suit them. Doesn't match them.
There are people whose personality is just not for sales.
Yeah,
100%.
That's simple, right? The ability to deal with rejection.
And if you can't do that, you just start recruiting, right? That's the natural next step, right? You can't sell. You just start recruiting your friends and family to sell for you.
So that's another thing. So that's another thing that drives me crazy. Because we don't really do that in PNC. In PNC, we do recruit people and tell them, like, the first thing you do is sell auto insurance to your family. Yes, we do that. But there's not this pipeline. It's not the you started selling exactly. We don't have that problem. That is another problem that I think just doesn't make any sense. If you've been a very successful life agent, then sure, start getting people under you, and train them to be successful doing it the way that you do it. But if you got licensed last week and you've sold a policy or two, and you're spending half your time or more in recruiting people to sell under you to do something you don't know how to do yourself, how is that going to work? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, Tony, that I think falls right into this whole conversation. I think you'll have some interesting insight on it. So, there's been these fully automated PNC startups, like Lemonade is one of the brands that come to mind. And I haven't really seen this on the life and health side as much. There might be a life agency or brokerage, someone else that's also doing it that I've seen before, but specifically on the PNC side, that's kind of entered into this existential threat that a lot of agents and brokers are like, here comes this fully automated brokerage. Here come, and AI is, of course, now part of the paradigm too. So talk to me, Tony, like what's coming? Should we just pack it up now? Should Christian and I quit today? Is that where we're headed? Is this over? Did Skynet win?
Agents aren't going anywhere. Let's start there. Agents aren't going anywhere. Selling the very simple types of insurance, yeah, some of that will probably go online more and more and more. But people want the human to answer questions. People want a human to yell at if something goes wrong. And Lemonade. So I find it really interesting how you refer to Lemonade as automated. Just a quick look at LinkedIn. Lemonade has 1,300 employees on LinkedIn. Okay,
wow, I had no idea.
So now,
that's crazy.
Are most of those tech people? Maybe, but it's not automated at all. Like there's a lot of humans in the mix of making that work. Number two, Lemonade is running like a 300% loss ratio. Like it's not quite 300, but they have never made
tech.
Right,
like a true tech startup. Wasn't that their pitch though? Wasn't that their whole thing? Was like, hey, we're doing this all, without an agent, without a human. Like, so that's their whole thing, right?
I have an interesting history with Lemonade. When Lemonade started, I was blown away by the demo. I was blown away by how nice their user interface was. And I wrote an article on Insurance Nerds, just going like, are they going to eat our lunch? This looks amazing, right? And then Nick Lamparelli wrote a 4-paragraph comment on my article telling me what an idiot I was and the 10 things that I had wrong about Lemonade. So of course I did what any human would rational human would do, and I replied and I said, hey, turn this into an article. He did. And his article to this day continues to be our best performing article ever, and mine is lost to history. Wow. Like I can't even find it. It got so few views like later that like I can't even Google for it. I swear that I never deleted it. Anyway, so Lemonade. Yes, it was the whole, and they shat all over insurance. I don't know if I can say that. Okay, perfect. My podcast, same way. I don't care.
Whatever you want to say.
They shat all over insurance, and they went to market with this like, insurance is a scam. We're here to do it better, and we're going to completely automate it, and right, and then they IPO'd as a tech company. Right, and the founders probably got out with what they consider success, because
I'm sure they did.
Right,
I'm sure they did.
The stock has not done well, right? Right. And basically, there's the 3 PNC insurtechs that IPO'd early, all IPO'd as we're tech companies. That's Lemonade, Root, and Hippo. And I like Root and Hippo significantly more than I like Lemonade. All 3 of them, stock market performance, just not good. Why? Because investors did not understand that this is an insurance company. They thought it was a tech company. Okay, so but let's focus on the effect on the agent. The agent's not going anywhere, especially in the more complex lines like commercial PNC, high net worth homeowners. The agent's not going anywhere. I'm guessing in your world, with Medicare specifically, Medicare, if I understand correctly, gets bought by older people who are less tech savvy. Typically, your world is very well protected for right. Like grandma is not gonna buy a policy from a bot, right? Right. They're just not, right? So you at the very least you've got a couple of decades of time. Okay,
decades. And I love that.
What we're seeing right now, the majority. So my podcast, Profiles in Risk, I interview insurtech founders, most of them PNC, but still, we've had 640 some episodes. Years ago, it was all, we're gonna put the agents out of business. We're gonna put carriers out of business. We're gonna bring in new technology and completely take over. Today, that's not at all. Today, it's we are building tools. They don't even say disrupt anymore. It's all about enabling. It's all about we're building a tool to help you do better, to help you sell better, to help you service better, to help you do claims better, right? So yeah, I have zero fear of insurtech killing the sales side of our industry. We will have some job losses, especially in the carriers when it comes to processing type roles. right? So for example, when I was in middle market underwriting, submission comes in a court form. It's 120 pages. My time's too valuable. My UA's, my underwriting assistant's time is too valuable. There's a processing person somewhere that is putting all of that information into the system, right? That's copying a PDF schedule of autos into an Excel and then putting it into the system. That kind of work is getting automated away. That kind of crap work. The same kind of crap work that a VA helps agencies with. Right?
Absolutely.
The stuff that doesn't that is not value added, that doesn't require a license. If you're paying somebody in the States, $60,000 a year to handle that, you're throwing money away. Get rid of the crap work. Automate it, whether it's through a VA or technology. That's the kind of stuff that will go away. The sales jobs never will. The underwriting jobs never will either, because we need a human in the loop of making a decision.
Yep.
So yeah, no, we're not as an industry, we are not at risk of losing our jobs.
Well, that is encouraging to hear.
Unless AI truly. So
Oh no!
So
I knew there was a catch.
For years, I said if AI hits an exponential curve, the way that computing technology did in the 80s or mobile technology in the 2000s, then we might find ourselves in an economy with 60-70% unemployment, and then this is not an industry problem; it's a society problem, right? So, recently, AI has hit that exponential curve quite clearly, right? So yes, we could potentially, and I'm not a technologist, but we could potentially find ourselves in a society-wide situation where we need what is it called? Guaranteed
UBI, Universal Basic Income.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
that's
going
a whole
down
different
the
conversation.
Right. You're going down the rabbit hole of, they achieve AGI, we have essentially a sentient, artificial intelligence, and now they're replicating. Yeah. Which is possible, which is totally, I believe is possible. Yes.
I am careful to be nice to Siri in case the AI does take
Thank you, Siri.
Exactly.
Very polite, please and thank yous every time.
I'm very polite to the AIs that I interact with, just in case. So I treat them like I treat anybody else. But unless we find ourselves in that situation as a society, in our insurance work, we will have worked for a long time.
That's really my same thoughts too, is that it would take a catastrophic AI type breakthrough where humanoid robots and AGI has been achieved, artificial general intelligence, where we've made such a big jump that it's not just our industry that's taking a big hit, it's society as a whole that's having to completely evolve into something different.
And the question comes up all the time because there are studies by Oxford and very serious institutions that have listed underwriter as one of the top 5 most likely to jobs to be lost.
Sure.
But when you dig into it, it's the very low level of underwriting. It's the personal lines, if you're on a personal lines auto underwriter, that's not a career you're going to be in for another 30 years. That's going to get automated away for the most part. But if your role either is all about dealing with the human, which is the case of sales, or you're making decisions. You're not just processing, moving data from one place to another because systems don't talk to each other. If you're making decisions when it comes to risk, that's not going away. You'll get better and better tools. Same thing with the sales side. You guys will get better and better tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony, we're getting kind of closer to top of the hour. We still have a little bit of time left, but I wanted to make sure we have time for final thoughts. But before we go into that, I wanted to give you a chance, give you some time. Talk about how people can find you. Talk about Insurance Nerds YouTube channel, your podcast, your books. How can people get in touch with you and in what ways?
If, dear listener, if you care about insurance at all, follow me on LinkedIn or add me on LinkedIn. I'm super easy to find. Tony Canas and a bunch of letters after my name. Because of my weird Latino last name, there's just not a lot of Tony Canases out there. So I'm very easy to find, very easy to recognize. And my profile photo, if you're in doubt, is my magician photo. So my magician playing cards. So I'm very easy to find. Okay,
I love it.
Insurance Nerds, insnerds.com. 10 years of articles, a lot of them about how to grow your insurance career, and the last 5 years, a lot about insurance and technology. The podcast, Profiles in Risk, 640 some episodes, most of them interviews with insurtech founders, some about how to grow your insurance career. My book about engaging millennials, which is called Insuring Tomorrow, easily findable on Amazon. And the YouTube channel, also called Insurance Nerds. Lots of videos about insurance and technology, basically. And everything that I've mentioned is basically my passions. My day job, I run a little recruiting firm specializing in insurance and insurtech. So if you're looking to hire somebody with an insurance background, would love to help. Since the listeners are probably mostly agents, first, get rid of the crap work by using a VA. And then if you need experienced service people, we would love to help you hire for that. We do help hire salespeople. That's a lot harder.
For sure.
Oh, and I definitely want to show off my
I love
insurance,
that.
the best industry to work in shirt from Rise. Rise is a young professionals group for the insurance industry. RiseProfessionals.com. It started with PNC claims, but it's quickly expanding to serve all areas of insurance. So if you're new in the industry and need some support, it's free. RiseProfessionals.com. They have a conference. They have a mentorship program. They do a ton of stuff to help young insurance professionals grow. So check it out.
I love it. Love it. Thank you for that.
Love it.
So on this show, we always kind of do final thoughts when we kind of get to the closing spot of kind of any show. Tony, this was awesome. Really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. Very interesting conversations.
Yes.
That probably don't get had enough, to be honest. So it's a very valuable service that you're providing with all of the content and everything that you put out. So appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
I'll kind of go first on, I guess, final thoughts. So, guys, for me, final thoughts on this episode would be like, I think my biggest takeaway is like, I don't think anybody ever talks enough about that. If an agent role isn't what's best for you, and there's lots of agents out there that fit this criteria, it's almost like you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You're trying to force something that just doesn't work, doesn't fit, not made for each other. I love the concept of staying in the industry and finding other ways to be in the industry. I think that's such a cool and very helpful and necessary message for people to hear, because the industry needs more than just agents to survive. So I love that. And I think all in all, being able to survive through, we talk about a lot in the show about automate everything you can, delegate what you can't automate. And Glenn says it best, eliminate things that aren't necessary. And you get to the best efficiency point in your business. So those are my final thoughts on this show. Glenn, final thoughts.
You said it backwards, but hey, A for effort. Okay, you gotta eliminate. You eliminate first, you guys. You eliminate first. Eliminate, automate, delegate. Love this episode, Tony. Really appreciate you coming on. At first, again, my gut reaction when I realized we were going to be talking about PNC insurance today, I was a little nauseous, to be honest, just because this is kind of like a Bloods and Crips war we have going, the life and health agents against the PNC. So,
and it's so silly.
It is silly. It is silly. It is silly. But there is this thing where, like, I think everyone thinks they're like better than the other line of insurance, and it's kind of hilarious when you take a step back and you look at it, because we're all really the same. We're all insurance agents, whether you're selling an auto policy, whether you're selling a home health care policy, you're selling a final expense policy, you're selling a dental policy, like regardless of what you're selling, we're all the same. We're all insurance agents. So I would love to do more collaborate. Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking as we're getting to the end of this conversation, I'm like, man, I'd love to collaborate more with PNC agents and figure out how we can be more of a community. And, there's so many great points that you brought up too, Tony, talking about how can we get the younger generation more excited about insurance? And that's something that is, again, a collaborative effort. That's something that we all, I think, could be a part of and should be a part of. And also, the last thing I'll mention too is I loved what you said about, selling on price point. If you sell on price point and that's your main focus, you're going to lose on price point. And that's just, simple math, in my opinion. So fantastic episode, Tony. Really appreciate you coming on. And guys, check out insnerds.com. It is awesome. I took a quick peek already. Super clean website, my friend.
We just redid it after 10 years. It was originally built by myself with no IT background. On WordPress, and over time it became a monster with incredible technical debt, and it was just like collapsing on itself. We just redid the website and moved away from WordPress, and it's now like fully up to date. So very, very happy about that.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that.
Great.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy that I'm no longer the one managing it because that's just not my skill set.
Yeah. There you go.
Insurance, the client does not know the difference between PNC, life, health, medical. It's insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So as an industry, we should find ways to collaborate. And what can we do to clean up our name, right? Personally, it's health that drives me crazy, not the agents. It's the health carriers that drive me crazy. I'm a Bernie bro. I crave for socialized medicine and the hate that health insurance companies receive. A lot of it seems to me warranted, or at least I understand why it happens. And what I hate about it is that bounces into the rest of insurance, right? Because
it's a marketing, it's a messaging issue. Just like what we talked about.
Insurance is insurance. So we need to clean up our name in society and we need to do that together. And final words, if you spent 20, 30 years in insurance and you had a great career and none of your kids followed you into the industry, why? Right, think about that.
My kids aren't coming, dude. Dad's a nerd. Dad's a loser. I'm a failure at this.
You get what I'm saying.
That's valid.
If you made a really good living here, and even your kids, then you're not marketing insurance as a career.
It's true. My kids don't think anything I do is exciting. I can tell you that right now. There's not a thing I do where my kids are like, man, I want to do that one day, Dad. That's so cool. No, that never happens. It's like, please, if I die, take over the business. Please, I'm begging you. That's usually the conversation I'm having.
Well, appreciate you coming on, Tony.
Anytime.
This was a good episode.
Yes.
Guys, if whatever platform you end up watching the show on, if you made it all the way to the end, we certainly appreciate your support. You are the real MVPs for finishing the show in its entirety. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to comment in the Facebook group stream to be entered into Freebie Friday. Make sure to subscribe on podcast audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We certainly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast. Here's to your massive success, and we'll see you on the next one.